What if I told you the most dangerous creature lurking inside Nevermore Academy isn't a Hyde, or a siren, or even an alpha werewolf, but something far stranger? You see, Wednesday's world is crawling with outsiders. Faceless horrors, shapeshifters, swarming insect masters, telekinetic geniuses, fire-breathing pyros, and even vampires who stroll casually in daylight. But here's the chilling truth: not all outsiders are created equal. Some are terrifying beyond measure, while others practically useless when the real fight begins. And that's the problem nobody wants to talk about. Imagine going to a school where some students can literally control your mind, while others can barely make a worm crawl faster. How do you survive in a place like that? How do you trust your classmates when one wrong glance at a gorgon's snakes could turn you to stone forever? But let me twist the knife a little deeper. Season 2 revealed something the show never dared to admit in Season 1. Teen power at Nevermore doesn't just make you special, it makes you a target. Think about it. Why was Isaac Knight, a Da Vinci with unstoppable telekinesis, so dangerous? Because when creativity and madness mix, genius becomes a weapon. Why did Francois's Galpin's survival shock us all? Because her return reminded us that outsiders don't just hide from humans, they betray their own. And yet, some powers are so laughably weak, they almost feel like a curse. The Faceless. Creepy to look at, sure, but in a fight, about as useful as a headless mannequin. Swarmers. Great if you've got a hive of bees lying around. But what happens when the battlefield is concrete and silence? Exactly. You're done for. Now here's where it gets terrifying. While the weaklings struggle for survival, the strong species, the Hydes, the psychics, the sirens, hold the real power. And if you think that balance doesn't matter, ask yourself why Nevermore keeps descending into chaos every season. Isn't it obvious? The school is a powder keg, and power is the spark. But I have to stop myself before I reveal too much too soon. Because what if I told you that one of the weakest looking species might actually be hiding a secret that could make them unstoppable? What if the most laughable outsider could become the deadliest weapon of all? You see where I'm going with this, don't you? Now, before we unravel that forbidden secret, I need you to do one thing. If you're obsessed with Nevermore's dark mysteries, and you don't want to miss the hidden truths I'm about to expose, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because the next reveal will change how you see Wednesday's world forever. Here's the problem. Season 2 didn't just introduce new outsiders like Vanishers and Da Vincis. It rewrote the rules of power itself. Vanishers might look like harmless pranksters, slipping in and out of sight. But imagine this: what if a Vanisher learned to fight like Bianca the Siren or Tyler the Hyde? What if invisibility wasn't just an escape, but the perfect hunting ground? Suddenly, the weakest ability becomes the most terrifying. And that's the kind of twisted hierarchy Nevermore hides beneath its gothic halls. Every outsider power has a flaw, a weakness, a hidden curse. But every single one also has the potential to become lethal, depending on who wields it. So the real question is this: in a school filled with monsters, spies, and mind benders, which species should you fear the most? And more importantly, who should you never turn your back on? The answer is darker than you think. And it begins with the outsider you least suspect. But here's where things get even more twisted. Because if you thought the Faceless and Vanishers were strange, wait until you hear about the Shapeshifters. Now, think about this. What's scarier, an enemy you can see, or an enemy who looks like your best friend? Imagine someone walking into your dorm, smiling, sounding exactly like your roommate, only for you to realize that person isn't them. Shapeshifters turn paranoia into a weapon. But let me ask you, if you had this power, would you use it to protect your friends, or would you test how far you could go before someone noticed? Drop your answer in the comments, because I want to see who's really trustworthy here. And yet, shapeshifters, for all their chaos, still aren't at the top. Because then we have swarmers. Yeah, bug whisperers. Now, on the surface, you might laugh like, really? Controlling spiders and bees? That's terrifying if you hate bugs, but in a fight, come on. But wait, let me flip that thought. Imagine a locked room, total darkness. You hear nothing, until the walls start moving, because hundreds of spiders are crawling toward you. Still think swarmers are weak. Then we climb to the avians. Bird controllers. Not pigeons delivering mail. No. Imagine dozens of crows ripping through the sky at once. Talons, beaks, wings, all obeying one mind. Feels a little like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, doesn't it? But here's the catch: no birds, no power. Which makes them terrifying but limited. And honestly, that limitation might save Nevermore from absolute chaos. And here's where we hit a shocking middle ground: the Gorgons. Now, this is where the danger takes a wild turn. Their snake hair isn't just creepy, it's deadly. One glance and you're stone. But the twist, they can't control it fully. They can stone their enemies, sure. But they could just as easily stone themselves. Or worse, their friends. Would you risk being friends with someone who could accidentally kill you just by panicking? Be honest. But if you think the Gorgons were risky, the fire ignites with pyros. Literal fire conjurers. Imagine a principal who can burn you alive just by lifting his hand. Fire isn't just destructive, it's uncontrollable. What if rage took over? What if the flames didn't stop? Still think you'd sleep peacefully at Nevermore knowing someone could torch your dorm in seconds? And then comes the sparks. Adam's family legacy. And honestly, this is where things feel unfair. Electricity at will. Not only deadly in a fight, zap you're done, but imagine how useful it is every day. Charging phones, powering tech, even reviving zombies. Sparks blur the line between myth and science. But here's the dangerous secret: if electricity is everywhere, then sparks are unstoppable. But stop for a second, because I need to ask you something, and be honest. If you had the choice to be any of these outsiders, which one would you pick? Comment your answer. And before you keep watching, yeah, this is the midpoint reminder. You don't want to miss what's coming next, because the real monsters of Nevermore aren't just in the classrooms. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right now, because, trust me, what's about to be revealed is the kind of forbidden knowledge that even Nevermore's headmasters would want hidden. And with that said, let's keep peeling back this dark, twisted ranking, because the further we go, the scarier the truth becomes.